Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing gambling in Thailand. This has been a topic that's been kind of on some folks' minds here the past roughly year because there's been serious talk about legalization of gambling here in Thailand. Thought of making this video after reading a recent article on Thai PBS World, that's thaipbsworld.com. Article is titled, Report on Casinos to Reach Thailand's House of Representatives on Thursday. Quoting directly, the committee is also proposing in the report that entertainment complexes to be built in Thailand must be bigger than those in Singapore and that the project should be joint public-private investments and be managed as a special administrative zone such as Macau. Well, okay, interesting there. One, the Eastern Economic Corridor is very much akin to a special economic zone, as we've discussed at length in many other videos on this channel. And there seems to be a lot of synergy of thinking, or similar thinking, if you will, between folks that are discussing legalization of gambling and some of the proposed regulations and some of the policies that we're kind of seeing, which sort of undergird the EEC here. So that's an interesting thing to point out. Now, it's kind of a little bit of an op-ed, but again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, and as we've seen in prior discussion of this, there may be a way that this actually occurs. I'll get to that in a minute. But what I'm talking about is bigger is not necessarily better. I do understand the thinking of, okay, if we're going to do a casino, let's make it bigger than anything in the region, presumably to attract more folks to that particular complex. The thing to always keep in mind, though, is gambling is a double-edged sword. I've worked in the gaming industry. I've seen the impact a casino can have on a community that did not have gambling and then did have legal gambling. There are good things that come about from it, job creation, tax revenue, for example, and then there are not so good things that come out of it. Most notably, yeah, there are folks that just have real problems with gambling, and if it's readily accessible, they will have real problems keeping themselves from spending away all their money. That's a fact. I've seen it. It happens. You know, it's a real problem, and it has community-wide implications. You know, it's not, you know, if you think of sort of other quote-unquote vices, if somebody goes out and they drink too much alcohol, generally speaking, if they don't drive and they make it home, their biggest problem is a hangover. But if you go out and you blow all your money, you know, in the casinos, that can have knock-on implications. You know, you may not be able to feed your family, you may not be able to pay your mortgage payment. All kinds of problems can come up from that. As we've discussed in other videos, I'm rather a bigger proponent of a more, I hesitate to use the word populist, but sort of a broader application allowing certain gaming activity. My big one is card rooms, you know, especially non-game of chance card rooms. And what are we talking about here? Basically poker. Few people take into consideration that truly poker is a skill game. Poker is very much a skill game. And when you're dealing, you know, when you're playing poker, people are playing against each other. They're not playing against a house that can just, it's sort of like a Hoover vacuum of money. So again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, you know, gaming licenses which could, and they've talked about this through special excise taxes and these kind of mechanisms, it may be possible to see some gaming activity at a much lower level, sort of at the lower economic strata where, you know, you might have a bar and grill that has a card table or something. This might happen. I don't know how this is going to look. The reason for the video is, again, bigger might not necessarily be better under all given circumstances. As well, it's worth noting that where one big giant casino exists and just starts sucking in money, it starts to act as something of a black hole, an economic sinkhole, if you will, and it can have tremendous negative implications for the community. At least with more broad licensing, where people can do things sort of at a mom and pop level, it's much more akin, or it's much more conducive to at least money getting spread around the overall community, not just going into one black hole where the negative consequences are affecting the whole community, but the benefits are really going to only one particular place. again, that's just my 2 cents on it. I think it would probably be better if we saw maybe a little bit more broad legalization in terms of, again, I like the paradigm of card rooms. I think poker would be wildly popular if it was allowed to be in card rooms more spread out throughout the country. But then like what I call true gambling, what we used to call gambling on the floor. There was the poker room, poker was poker, and then there was the floor, which is things like blackjack where you're playing against the house. Gambling, 3-card poker, you're playing against the house. Roulette, craps, baccarat, these kinds of things, you're playing against the house. Those things I think should be kept inside of a casino complex. And I think it's well worth looking at allowing card rooms for poker specifically to be allowed on a much more broad basis.